The bioluminescent haze of Athelia's marketplace buzzed with the scent of spiced McTell blossoms and the low hum of trader drones. Theo weaved his way through the tangled foot traffic, clutching his translation device like a lifeline. The device had already malfunctioned twice that morning, greeting a fruit vendor with glorious fungus appendages instead of good morning. He'd given up trying to correct it. Above, magnetic banners floated like drifting kites, advertising everything from neural lace extensions to genetically engineered pet slugs. Theo caught sight of a stand selling Martian cheese balls and made a mental note to avoid them at all costs. Last time he'd tried one, he'd nearly regrown a second nose. He had come to Athelia to study the ancient telepathic bond rituals, a practice so revered among the Athelian people that entire subcultures were dedicated to its perfection. Bonding was everything here, the glue that held society together. Yet as he ducked under a low-hanging drone, he wondered how such a ritual could exclude those with imperfections. His thoughts swirled with half-formed questions. Then he saw her. She moved through the crowd with an awkward grace, her steps mechanical yet somehow fluid, like a dancer out of sync with the music. Her cybernetic limbs glinted beneath the purple glow of the market lights. Scar tissue traced her cheek, spidering down her neck in pale, jagged lines. The other Athelians barely acknowledged her presence, but Theo felt something in the air, a kind of charged hush that made his translation device vibrate ominously, as if it too recognized her significance. He stepped closer, fumbling a packet of anti-gravity popcorn in his haste, and nearly collided with a gelatinous vendor cart. The cart let out an offended beep, jiggling its mass like a grumpy pudding. "Sorry," he muttered, but the cart was already sulking. He turned his attention back to the woman. "Hey," he ventured, his voice cracking like a prepubescent starling. "I'm Theo. Like your—" He gestured vaguely at her mechanical arm, unsure if that was polite. "Is that a carbon fiber model or—" Her eyes, one organic, the other a sleek metal implant, narrowed at him, then softened into a weary sort of amusement. "It's a prototype," she said, her voice dry as desert air. "Comes with a free side of social exile." Theo's grin wobbled. "Ah, right. Well, at least it doesn't come with a surprise nose, like the cheese balls." She tilted her head, one eyebrow raised. "Surprise nose?" "Long story," he said with a self-deprecating laugh. "Let's just say I tried to eat one, and my face, well, let's just say symmetry's overrated." Her laughter was a quiet ripple in the crowded chaos, but it reached his ears like a song. For a moment, her mechanical arm didn't matter. Her scars didn't matter. What mattered was that she laughed, and he'd made that happen. He offered her the anti-gravity popcorn, which she accepted with an amused shake of her head. She tore it open only to have the kernels shoot upward, defying gravity and bouncing like hyperactive fireworks. A few landed in Theo's hair. "Nice," she said, deadpan. "Next time, maybe we can share a meal that doesn't try to escape." Theo found himself laughing too, a sound that felt lighter than the air around them. "Deal," he said, brushing a floating kernel from his hair. Around them, the marketplace thrummed with neon lights and drifting laughter. In that moment, amid the oddities and uncertainties, Theo realized that sometimes the most profound connections were born from the simplest, most unexpected gestures. Theo's laughter still echoed in his head as he followed Corilla through a labyrinth of floating bridges that curved like the spines of ancient creatures. The bridges glowed with bioelectric filaments, illuminating the path with a gentle pulse that reminded him of fireflies back on Earth. He had to resist the urge to poke one, just to see if it would giggle. He'd learned the hard way that Athelian tech had a bad habit of retaliating. Corilla moved with a confidence that belied her scars, her mechanical arm whirring with each movement. Theo struggled to keep up, nearly tripping over a street-cleaning bot that scuttled past, trailing a suspiciously minty scent. He caught himself on a railing, grateful that the AI hadn't recorded his stumble, though the bot did flash a judgmental red eye before zipping off with an offended squeal. "You humans have the most curious ways of greeting technology," Corilla said, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Theo huffed, brushing off his sleeves. "Hey, in my defense, that thing looked like it wanted to floss my shoes." She snorted, the sound low and musical, and for a second he felt like he'd cracked a secret code. They reached a quieter section of the market, where the glow dimmed and the air vibrated with the faint hum of neural transmissions. Kirilla paused at the entrance to a narrow alley, her mechanical eye flickering. "Here's where we can talk without everyone listening in," she said, her voice lower now, edged with caution. Theo's translation device warbled with excitement, probably thinking private conversation translated to romantic rendezvous. He smacked it lightly, silencing its eager beeps. "Sorry," he muttered. "This thing thinks every conversation is a date." Kirilla's smile widened. "Maybe it's smarter than it looks." He pretended to examine the device. "Don't encourage it. Last time it tried to set me up with a vending machine." She laughed, a genuine sound that melted some of the worry lines on her face, and led him into the alley. The walls were lined with old data ports and graffiti that shifted and glowed as if painted with living ink. One message read, "We're the unbonded," pulsing in rebellious red. Theo glanced at it, then at Kirilla. "That's you, right?" he asked softly. She hesitated. "It was. Still is, maybe. My people think that to be whole, you must bond. Telepathically, physically, spiritually. My scars, and they make me unworthy. Incomplete." Theo's brow furrowed. "That's the biggest load of space slugs I've ever heard." She blinked at him, startled by the vehemence in his voice. He spread his arms, nearly smacking a passing nano-drone that zipped by with a squeal of protest. "Look, I've got more issues than a broken replicator, but even I can see that you're—" He gestured at her. "You're incredible. Scars and all." Her mechanical eye whirred, adjusting focus on him as if searching for hidden motives. "You'd really say that?" He met her gaze without flinching. "I mean it. Back home we have a saying, perfection is for AI marketing brochures." She snorted, covering her mouth as a laugh threatened to escape. "You humans are ridiculous." "Yeah, but at least we're consistent." She shook her head, but he could see the warmth in her expression, the fragile hope sparking to life. Around them, the graffiti flickered like an audience of digital ghosts, and Theo had the sudden, irrational urge to take a selfie with the defiant red letters. Maybe that was his way of rebelling, smiling in the face of a system that labeled people as broken. "So," he said, leaning back against the wall, "tell me about this bond thing. Why is it such a big deal here?" Kirilla's eyes darkened, but her smile remained. "Because it's supposed to make you whole," she said, "but no one ever asks if you already are." Theo reached for her hand, hesitated, then thought, "What the heck?" He grabbed it gently, careful of the mechanical joints. Maybe it's time someone did. And just like that, in the neon-lit shadows of a world that demanded perfection, two outsiders found something neither of them had expected, a connection that didn't need fixing. The glow of Kirilla's mechanical eye flickered as they stepped into the cavernous underbelly of the city. Hollow screens crackled overhead, advertising everything from plasma noodles to subdermal personality enhancers. Theo tried to focus on their mission, but his translation device kept blurting out, "Sensational offers for imaginary friends," and "Do you have a spare kidney for this week's special?" He smacked it lightly, muttering, "I swear, one more outburst and I'm teaching you to swim." Kirilla chuckled, the sound low and soothing, like a gentle electric current. "Maybe it's got a sense of humor." Theo shot her a sidelong glance. "Yeah, well, I'm not looking for a stand-up comic that can also order me black market body parts." They passed a vending bot with suspiciously glowing eyes that watched them like a judgmental librarian. Kirilla ignored it, her focus on the darkened corridor ahead. Theo, however, gave it a thumbs up just in case it was connected to some Ethelian rating system. The bot responded by sticking out a mechanical tongue, a detail that made Theo grin like a kid. "Where exactly are we going?" he asked, ducking to avoid a tangle of cables dangling like robotic vines. She moved with the fluid grace of someone who'd memorized the shadows. "There's a data node hidden down here, an old one. My people abandoned it when they upgraded their networks, but it's still linked to the original Bond archives." Theo's eyes lit up. "Bond archives? Like the secret history of bonding rituals?" She nodded. "And the prejudice that comes with them. I think I think we might find proof that the bond isn't just for the perfect. He felt a tingle in his gut that had nothing to do with the suspicious Martian cheese balls he'd eaten earlier. Let's go break some rules. They reached the node. A battered metal structure that looked like a vending machine had tried to evolve and then given up halfway. Kirilla accessed it with a flick of her mechanical wrist. The screen lit up, casting a greenish glow that made Theo look like a nauseated ghost. Password? She murmured. Theo leaned in, squinting at the Athelian symbols. Try, I love space slugs, 123. She actually laughed. Close, but I think I'll stick with something a little less you. A few taps later, the screen pulsed and spat out a cascade of data streams, swirling like liquid holograms. Theo gawked at the sight, his eyes wide. That's amazing, like a cosmic spaghetti dinner. She rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her grin. You have a way with words. He puffed out his chest. Thank you. I graduated top of my class in interstellar noodle appreciation. The data unfurled, and with it came a flood of ancient records. Testimonies of broken bonds, stories of Athelians who'd refused to abandon their imperfect partners, and, Theo's heart skipped, a reference to a ritual that could unite any mind, regardless of scars. Kirilla's breath hitched. This could change everything. Theo's grin widened. Or at least get us into a lot of trouble. A mechanical whir behind them made him jump, and he whirled to see a squat security bot roll into view, blinking a single menacing eye. Intruders detected. Please submit to immediate surrender or suffer extreme inconvenience. Theo glanced at Kirilla. Extreme inconvenience? He muttered. That's gotta be the worst threat I've ever heard. She smirked. Think you can handle it, interstellar noodle boy? He puffed out his chest again. I was born for inconvenience. The bot charged and Theo yelped, diving behind the console as sparks flew. Kirilla slammed her mechanical hand into the data node, triggering a cascade of glowing symbols that whirled around them like a neon tornado. Theo peeked out, hair singed, and laughed. Well, that's one way to download a file. And together, amid the chaos of neon sparks and malfunctioning bots, they clutched at hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the bond wasn't only for the unbroken. Theo's legs wobbled like a baby giraffe as he and Kirilla stumbled out of the data node chamber, data shards swirling around them like confetti from a cosmic party popper. Kirilla's mechanical eye glowed as she scanned the readout, the alien symbols dancing like caffeinated fleas. It's here, she whispered, voice tinged with wonder. The ritual. Proof that the bond was never meant to be about physical perfection. Theo tried to catch his breath, leaning on the nearest wall, which promptly hissed and sprouted tiny suction cups. Well, he said, peeling himself off, nothing says a warm welcome like a wall that wants to eat you. Kirilla's lips twitched. Focus, human. He wiped the sweat from his brow, noticing a smudge of glowing blue goo from the earlier bot encounter. I am focused, see? Fully engaged. He gestured dramatically, nearly smacking himself in the face. A mechanical vendor zipped by, chirping, fresh brain boosters, buy one, get a free imaginary friend. Theo reached for his translation device and hissed, if you even think about buying one of those, I swear I'll feed you to the cheese balls. Kirilla shook her head, amusement sparking in her mechanical eye. This way, she said, guiding him through a maze of twisting alleys that pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent glow. As they neared the spire of memory, Theo's translation device buzzed like an overeager wasp. Diplomatic mode activated, it announced in a voice that sounded suspiciously like an overexcited game show host. Ready to insult dignitaries in 7 languages. Theo slapped it. No diplomatic mode, just normal human babble. The spire loomed ahead, its crystalline structure humming with a low frequency that tickled the edges of Theo's consciousness. A pair of ceremonial guards stood at the entrance, their exosuits gleaming with intricate etchings. Kirilla approached, her posture straight and defiant. We seek an audience, she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of tradition and defiance. The guards shifted, their visors flickering. The spire is closed to the unbonded, one droned. Theo stepped forward, clutching the downloaded data like a toddler with a new toy. Hey, look, we've got proof. Real proof that the bond doesn't care about your fancy rules. The second guard blinked as though considering the concept of rule breaking for the first time. Proof? Kurilla held up the data shard. Ancient records, untouched by revisionists. The first guard's visor pulsed. That is highly irregular. Theo grinned. Welcome to highly irregular. The guards hesitated, then parted, allowing them passage. Kurilla's mechanical hand squeezed his, a silent thank you. Inside, the chamber glowed with the energy of countless minds, the neural hum of memories filling the air like a cosmic chorus. High priests floated on platforms of living light, their minds entwined in a web of consciousness that Theo's device nearly fried itself trying to translate. Kurilla stepped forward, voice steady. We bring proof that the bond was always meant for every Athelian, scarred or whole. It is the bond itself that makes us complete. A hush fell. One priest opened his eyes, the glow fading. You dare challenge the old ways? Theo cleared his throat, trying to hide his nerves. Well, she dares. I'm just the comic relief. A ripple of laughter, unexpected, but welcome, broke the tension. Kurilla lifted her head defiant. We don't want to destroy your traditions. We want to remind you what they truly mean. The priests exchanged glances, their neural links humming like the final chord of an ancient song. Theo felt his chest tighten, but he winked at Kurilla. Guess it's time to rewrite the rule book. She squeezed his hand, mechanical and human fingers entwined. Together. And in that single word, centuries of division trembled at the edge of change. The chamber shimmered with the glow of 1,000 memories as Kurilla stepped forward, her mechanical arm steady, her organic eye bright with conviction. Theo stood beside her, his translation device buzzing like a nervous bumblebee trying to pick the right punchline. The high priest floated in solemn silence, their neural webs casting intricate patterns across the crystalline walls. Theo cleared his throat, his voice echoing oddly in the sacred space. So, we're here to, show that perfection is kind of overrated. His translation device decided to translate that as, we challenge your supreme cosmic cheesecake. And Theo nearly choked, trying not to laugh. Kurilla's lips twitched, but she kept her focus. We found records, proof that the bond isn't just for the flawless, it's for all Athelians, no matter the scars or the implants or the mistakes. One of the priests, a tall figure whose neural filaments sparkled like a disco ball, tilted his head. Proof? Show us. Theo rummaged in his pocket, his fingers tangling with a suspiciously sticky, anti-gravity popcorn kernel, and pulled out the data shard. Kurilla took it with a nod and slotted it into the ancient console at the chamber's heart. Holographic images burst forth, testimonies, forgotten rituals, stories of the unbonded who'd found strength in imperfection. The air buzzed as the priests' minds linked, their thoughts merging in a neural chorus that smelled faintly of burnt ozone. Theo leaned close to Kurilla. Think they're downloading the latest intergalactic gossip? She snorted softly. Probably updating their style guides. You know how hard it is to keep up with cosmic fashion. The priest with the disco ball filaments finally spoke. These records, they speak truth. Theo's heart leapt. He couldn't resist a grin. So, does that mean the bond is for everyone now? Even, people with extremely questionable dance moves? A ripple of laughter, genuine, warm, echoed from the priests. Another priest nodded gravely. Even those with questionable dance moves. Kurilla's mechanical fingers found Theo's hand. We've changed something today, she whispered. He squeezed back. You did. I just provided the comedic soundtrack. Her eyes glistened. You did more than that, Theo. You saw me, all of me, even the parts I thought were too broken to matter. He swallowed, his grin softening. You're not broken, Kurilla. You're you. And that's enough. The priests floated down, their faces solemn but no longer closed. We will spread this knowledge, one said. The bond belongs to all Athelians. Theo let out a whoop of joy that startled a passing cleaning drone, which responded by spraying him with a burst of lemon-scented foam. Kurilla laughed, the sound light and free. As they left the spire, the city felt different, like the air itself had shifted. The bioluminescent market hummed with energy, vendors shouting offers for all kinds of ridiculous gadgets. Theo bought a packet of anti-gravity popcorn just for the memories. They stood together at the edge of the bridge, looking out over the neon-lit cityscape. Theo's hair was still sticky from the foam, and Carilla's scars gleamed like battle medals. "You know," he said, "maybe perfection is boring. Maybe we're all supposed to be a little bit glitchy." She smiled, her mechanical eye glinting. "Maybe that's what makes us perfect." And as they watched the night unfold, a patchwork of chaos, laughter, and wonder, they knew they'd change not just themselves, but a whole world, together.